us a gun.
I'm not voting.
If we want to build our nation.
The problem with the Somalians.
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move
Can't be
forward.
like a horse with blinkers on.
Honestly say, I was about to have
Corrupt
sex and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice.
My name is Sinisa Munagadi. I'm an education activist in equal education.
My name is Songose. I stay in Kailicha. I'm an activist at Equal Education.
My name is Kuluma Ngamihlali. I am an activist. I'm an education activist from Equal Education.
My name is Esetu Plagi. I live in Kailicha. I'm an education activist in Equal Education.
My name is Penatis Sakele from Kailicha. I'm an education activist from Equal Education.
Hi, my name is Asisi Bombana. I'm an equal education activist.
For me, the education system in South Africa is divided by class and race. Reason being, if you live in township and compared to people living in the CBD, you are racially segregated in Cape Town, most especially in Cape Town. The allocation of your resources, safety, and even in education is racially segregated and is divided by class. So you have those privileged learners who are able to go and attend in the CBT to get this assumed to be quality and equal education because they have all the resources they need. And their mothers have worked hard for them to be able to get the access in that kind of education or that kind of environment. So leaving all of the kids in township to kind of like get this poor education because they are the product of working class at the end of the day. So the reason why I'm saying that is divided by class, the fact that my mother didn't work hard enough to get me to town, then compared to a student that is studying in town, there is that inequality in the education system, and the class is the main root of what is happening in the current education system of South Africa.
And I think it's sad that so many of us have to move to CBD or wherever to access that education, whereas it's been like how many years after the apartheid system, but still we're still living in a society where education is not fairly distributed amongst everyone. So now our parents that have access to certain money or capital are able to transfer us to certain schools, but that doesn't make it fair for other children whose parents don't have that amount of money.
According to my observation, my main concern is that this education we're speaking about, it's just a mechanism of creating a more of a black working class than to produce the professionals. I'll tell you why. Because if I can give you an example for a child in primary school, and he looks up what he hopes to become when he grows up. Speaking about doctors and lawyers, and when he reaches high schools, now those dreams now just start to fade away. Now he wants to become a policeman, a teacher, and that's the true reality. When we're out on grade 12, we'll be like, I could even take a shop ride, but that wasn't the main aim of that. So it produces, it goes back to, it produces more often the main profession that you can become as a black child. It's either you're a teacher, or a psychologist, or a social worker. Not more than there are in mechanical engineering, but the few black people. Why? Because that education we get produces unmotivated teachers that doesn't have passion for what they do, just for salary. There's no quality because they has no passion for what they are doing. So the cycle goes on. You produce more working class until this unjust is fixed.
Now, I think, first of all, when I speak about saying mostly like this unjust system, I believe now, and I'm with you, because if you look at a system now, education system doesn't only teach learners innovate, teach learners how innovation starts, because that's where we start to build the foundation in a black society. To be able to build our own things. If you go to high school, in high school, most of the things, talent is turned to a career. That's why now you will see that most of the learners are dropouts when people drop out in high school, they go and stay home and do nothing because they don't have anything to do. You know, if we can create a system in an education system whereby we have extramurals activities that will make e-learners to be excited also, it will be like more, but also we must look at first at the background. When you go to school, you look at the safety of that child also. Because now we have, in primary schools, we have those classes we call smart classes. You see, you create a smart class around in Khayelitsha, we have 15 schools, primary schools, but you create a one smart room class in a one primary school, of which you're creating now an opportunity for criminals to target that school. You see, it is better if you creating that we're targeting these 4 schools. Now it won't be easier for criminals to say, well, okay, now let's go to that school because that school has Ilanoza, because there will be more other schools who have smart classrooms.
I think it goes back to a point of intent, and I think that's why equal education as a movement exists. Allocation of resources for equality education, because the extramural activities that you are talking about, and I agree with you. We have one high school that practices the arts and culture, which is, for instance, Christian in Khayelitsha. How many children live in Christian want to do drama, for instance, and music and dance, for instance? So, and then you move away from Khayelitsha and go to other areas. Gugulethu, how many schools that practice the art and drama in Gugulethu? I don't know, none. How many in Aklone? How many how many in CPT area? Because in CPT areas, extramural activities are a period itself. If you want to do drama, there's a drama period. As an extramural activity, there's sport. If you don't excel academically, you have a chance to go and play rugby, you have a chance to go and play hockey and cricket. When you get to varsity, you are able to get access of education, of a pasar, to study or do whatever, or even excel in sport, soccer, rugby, cricket, all of these kind of things. But the lack of resources and fields, sport fields and sport complexes that we have in Khayelitsha, and then that's why I think the main foundation that equal education exists, because of these resources that are not in township, they are only situated in town to do what you are currently saying now.
Even the curriculum that is taught, it's not a good curriculum to make someone excel. For example, you go into high school and then you want to go into university, but the issue is that you got like 50%, for example. You can't go into university with that 50%, even though they dropped it to a certain amount. They know that you're not going to be able to go in there and compete with an A learner from Kempsby High. That learner has like 70s, 80s. Obviously, you can't compete with them because they have the better quality education than you have. Yeah. So that's why we in this struggle to make sure that every child has the same education that a white child would have, because majority is white. There's this white monopoly thing happening in our country where they control everything, but it's not recognized because they use capitalism as a tool. So we black children, we forced inflation in Nyuka, for example. We have to petrol, everything is like going up, but are they considering if the minimum wage is going up as well? It's not. See? So there's an issue in our country, and that's why we took a stand and saying we want to take education to a next level, because it's not enough.
It all boils down to the curriculum that is provided by the government or like by the state, and how then do we make sure that that curriculum is utilized, like maximum utilization of that curriculum, to make sure that abantwana besikolo actually achieve something through that curriculum. Ungazi a curriculum where you say that if I get 30%, I can move to the other classroom, or say that if I fail this phase and then fail again, I can be condoned to the next phase. It should not work like that. We should be working for quality. And I feel that is the whole point of equal education. As much as we have these schools, and we definitely need more schools, but we have to look into what expertise do we need from that particular school. And when we look at that, then we can also look at, do we then focus on extramural activities? Because children are bored, that is why they get into gangs. That is why we have a safety issue of gangsterism at our communities. So we should be looking at those issues in our communities and then strategize on how do we then distribute these resources when we get them. Because we're going to talk about also police resourcing, right? And we're going to say that we need this many police in Khayelitsha and experienced policemen. Whereas in C point they don't need them. They don't really need them, you know. And we want them to come to a Khayelitsha mhlambe. And then they come to Khayelitsha, they get here, and then
but also we can't just run to, on the first place now we're going to run to jump to curriculum. We have to face Nati firstly as a black community, look at the infrastructure.
Definitely.
Also, and then look at our communities. How do we make a school? Because a school is part of a community.
Yes.
There won't be any school without a community. Yeah? So we have to look at the community, how the people around the community live. We can't just say, well, like, okay, now we'll fix Ilanoza, we'll fix the curriculum, and then after everything, safety will disappear, everyone will be safe to go to school. That's not an option.
Unsafe community, unsafe school.
Unsafe school in the unsafe
So in my mind, when I was...
That's why now we're saying as equal education, but like, let's take all these stakeholders to make the community safer. When the community is safe, then the school is safer also. And then we look at like, what are the things that will make like learners or students to be part of it, to be excited to go to school. Okay. Then we provide, we challenge that also.
Can I jump in and be controversial for a minute? So comrades, we have equal education, which is advocating for better and quality education, right? Yes. But we're focusing on safety, because we believe if a community is safe, then the school will be safe.
Yes.
But we have a lot of complicated issues which are happening within the education system. One, we have teachers who came from Bantu education, and they're still teaching now. They will tell you that I have 50 to 60 years teaching in the very same education. And mind you that we have each and every 3-4 years, we're having an education system which brings a curriculum system which is new, and those teachers need to adapt and teach upcoming learners into that education system.
And there are no workshops that are provided.
And then there's not enough training. Secondly, there's the issue of choice, right? If I'm a learner and I'm interested in sports or arts, or I want to be in a lady school, or I want to do drama, or I want to do whatever the case may be. And then those schools are limited, especially in the township. Yeah. Those schools are limited. Then there's an issue of the class struggle, the distribution of resources in those particular schools. Yes. So we can't be having a mentality that when we solve the safety issue, will automatically solve all those other issues that
just
are
like the land issue
that are within. But if we have the land issue,
no. I joined equal education because personally I believe that besides the whole fighting for equality in education and quality in education for primarily Black South African kids, I feel it's a bit more than that, because we also get to focus like on other working class struggles, and particularly Black struggles and the country as a whole. I feel that it is not just a goal towards an equal education, but it is a goal towards a more equal South Africa and like a more liberated Black child. And so it's a bit more than education and about education being the key to life. It is just trying to achieve that equality and equity.
My dream is an equal and a just society for everyone living in South Africa, and to kind of contribute of making that equal and just society in South Africa.
My dream is to become an actor so that I can tell all of those stories which are happening and my experience of life.
My dream is to see a liberated Black child, and more especially to see a liberated girl child.
One of my dreams is to become a teacher. I would really love to see young Black people making education one of their priorities in their lives.
My dream is to become a motivator to some young entrepreneurs who want to to see, to create a system whereby we will be calling it a black capitalist system.
My dream is to become a leader, and I've been sort of living that dream by being part of this organization.